The big splash today came from a team that rarely makes big splashes. It's been twice in the past 20 years where there's been a big money expenditure by the Patriots. One of them came after the market got going with Stephon Gilmore. They paid market value. Adalius Thomas, if you remember that, Charean, in 2007, is another one. But today it was boom, bang, pow from Jonnu Smith, the tight end from the Titans, Matthew Judon, the pass rusher from the Baltimore Ravens. Jalen Mills gets signed by the Patriots, a defensive back on a 4-year deal. And Davon Godchaux, the Dolphins defensive tackle, all joined the Patriots all today. Now, remember, none of these deals are official until after Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, but I've never seen the Patriots spend this kind of money in that period of time.
No, me either, Mike. It was 104 last check. They may have signed somebody by now, but last check, $146 million spent today, $81.25 million guaranteed. That is more than we see the Patriots usually spend in free agency. I think this means, Mike, that they think they need some additions and they're close, right? They've re-signed Cam Newton, think he'll be better in the offense. They're getting those players back who opted out, aside from Marcus Cannon, who they've since traded. But I think Bill Belichick thinks he's building a team here, Mike, that can contend for the division title going forward after these moves. But we know free agency is not the way you build a team, right? It's through the draft. So you still need to draft well and get those young players to play valuable snaps for you, if not make valuable starts for you, Mike.
Well, and that's exactly the message I take away from this. This is a team that was frustrated by what happened last year. And even though a lot of people look at the Patriots and they have an attitude as if New England bottomed out at 3-13 or something like that, they were still 7-9. They were still very much alive going into the mid to late part of December. And there aren't many games you could point to and say, well, if that one had gone differently, they're a playoff team. You take away the Cam Newton COVID-19 bout that he had that kind of screwed everything up. They had the Chiefs on the ropes early in the season, the game that Cam Newton missed. This is a team that is not far away. And whether it was intentional or coincidental, they managed to compile a ton of cap space. Tom Curran was on with us on Friday. He suggested it just was serendipitous. I still think at some point, even though it may have started by happenstance, it became a happening for the Patriots, and they decided, we're going to embrace this. We're going to live this. We're going to run with this, and next year we're going to be in a position to spend when others can't. I'm still surprised, though, that they went all in so quickly. I thought the approach would be wait and let the market soften and go out and bargain shop. Maybe they'll do both. But they make those big splashes right out of the gates with Judon, Godchaux, Mills, and Smith, and they're going to be better. They're instantly going to be better. Now, we know that few teams go out and buy a championship in free agency, but when you consider the unique dynamics of this season and where the Patriots currently are, this is what they're doing to improve the team. Oh, and they have a date with Tom Brady at some point this year. Don't think that's not part of this. They have to get the house in order before the prodigal son returns home. And they don't want to slay the fatted calf. They want to slay him. And they need a better team than what they had last year to do it. And I doubt that they're done. They may be done in this first wave, but they're going to keep spending and they're going to keep trying because they ultimately, Charean, want to beat Tom Brady.
Yeah, and Mike, they still need moves at receiver, right? We know they didn't have that many weapons. They now have gotten a tight end who they think is going to be really good in this offense, but they need receivers. And that maybe has been the biggest surprise to me today in free agency, and maybe it's because there's so many of them out there. But we haven't seen, right, Mike, a big-time, big-name receiver go in free agency yet. They're all still out there. So I'm not going to put it past the Patriots to sign one or two of these receivers who are out there.
Well, and the problem continues to be what value can you fairly put on a Kenny Golladay who didn't play much last year? And you can write it off to he wasn't happy with his contractual situation. He wasn't happy with the offers he was getting from the Lions, so he wasn't going to push it if he had a hamstring issue, and he was going to keep himself healthy and ready for the market. And with Juju Smith-Schuster, I keep coming back to the fact that he's not a number one receiver. I see these huge numbers get thrown around for Juju, but you got to have a number one. You can't make him number one. So if you have a number one who's already under a veteran contract, it's going to be glaring if you pay Smith-Schuster $12, $15 million per year, whatever it is that it's going to be in the final number. The only way that it makes sense is for a team that has a number one firmly established under a rookie contract and can't be paid a second contract yet. Then it's not glaring. It's still glaring, but there's nothing anybody can do about it. And that may be why the Raiders are in the mix. I know Miles disagrees with me on whether or not Henry Ruggs is a number one, but you treat him as a number one because he's got the speed to draw double coverage, and he's got the potential to become a guy that truly is your number one wideout, and then Juju is your number two. So I think that's the practical challenge. And look, if I'm the Patriots, I don't know that I trust my evaluation of any receivers. I think given their history, I'm tempted to do the George Costanza, pick the opposite path of whatever it is Bill Belichick thinks is the right way to go, because we've seen time and again they've not done well when it comes to receivers, especially young ones. Veterans, yes. Young ones, they just don't evaluate them well. So free agency would be the way to do it if there's guys they like. But I think that may be the area, Charean, where they let the market soften and then make moves at guys who are left over and willing to do one-year deals.
And you know, a guy who might fit them perfectly is the guy who played with Cam Newton, who I think is unsung probably in this free agent class, and that's Curtis Samuel for what he brought to that Panthers offense. People don't talk about him a lot, but, I mean, he can run the ball. He can obviously catch passes. That's what he does best. But he worked well with Cam. So I think he's a guy that maybe you're right. Maybe the market sets a little bit. And then maybe he's a guy that a team like the Patriots could go after and get, who I think could be really good. Now, I don't know that he's a number one receiver, but I think he could be good in your mixed core group of receivers.
Yeah, I suspect they'll do more. I doubt that they'll do more now, but watch. I'm constantly checking Twitter and the text messages we share and other text messages I'm getting to see what's next. But they've done plenty. And they've burned up a nice chunk of that cap space they had available, but I think they will eventually be doing more.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.